Okay, Kiara, how you doing?
I'm okay.
What's going
Um,
Just writing.
yeah. So I'm like here, but I'm not really here today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm okay though.
Well, he's back home, right?
No, they're still at the hospital.
He's still at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I assume that he was back home when you said I'm gonna be coming in. Who's with him there?
Right, Reggie.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And this is an infection. The same. It was an infection last time too.
I feel like every time the weather changes quickly, he always gets cold, and it's been happening since he was even smaller. But now it's a little more serious because it's like he's really struggling to get air in. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here today. I know focusing on the work here is really challenging when your son is in the hospital sick. So I appreciate you doing that. So our work today is actually going to help set you up for success in all of the details required. You can put your stuff anywhere. And all and all of the details required around like guided reading.
Okay.
So the things that we need and then I'll have for you because we didn't lay out like what you would need to bring. But like when you go back and finish this work, you'll need a few things. Yeah, you can write it down. Okay. Okay. So I would say probably just one of the meeting notes. Good. Yeah. Because it'll actually be an action step just to complete your guided reading. Okay. So you can jot it anywhere. So you're gonna need this, which is in every classroom, your guided reading companion.
Got it.
Okay. And then in addition to that, the ideal would be to have all of your individual step student sheets. Yeah.
Okay.
I like to print them off because like it's easier to manipulate as opposed to tabs on the computer.
Yeah.
So I printed these off. I'll have these for everything for today, but just like when you go back to do your own work. Okay. And really, you would want your step kit with you too, because much of this, especially when we get to the groups that are in steps 8 and 9, we're gonna have to go back to the text. We're gonna have to look at exemplar responses and then diagnose misconceptions there. Okay. So those are the things that you will need. In addition to that, what you'll walk away with and what I'm gonna give to you now, and this is where we'll start. Is this? I'm gonna give you the sheet. So let me just quickly name the overview. I named the prep, that's the first part. The majority of the time is going to spend in what we call the deep dive. And this deep dive is really taking a look at like where are the gaps. I'm going to give you the groups. Okay. We're not going to spend time focusing on like groups are done, set, I'm going to give them to you. Okay. But within each group, where are the gaps? And then how are we going to determine high levels of action steps after diagnosing the gaps. So we're going to dive into all of that today. We're going to get a lot of that. And then, if time allows, we're going to practice those. So this is an action step that we do for this particular group. Let's practice. We're at the guided read table, and then we'll give feedback. And then I'm going to have 5 minutes for follow-up. The follow-up is going to go over like the email that was sent out because it was a lot. And so we need to break down like what does this mean and what do I need to do tomorrow. Okay? Yeah. So we named the prep, and I'm going to give you this. This is where we spend the majority of time. Now, I have not received your guided reading analysis and action. Is that correct?
Yes, because Anthony still needs to step test because he wasn't here yesterday.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to do analysis with people who weren't finished.
Yeah, I would say start it because you don't want to wait to start it because it's going to be we'll get the majority of this done. For the next round, start it anyways. And then let's add to that, if you make a note on there, Zoe's also incomplete. Now it shows on hers highest DNA, but her assessment is incomplete because when I printed off the report, it was just like a blank page. So Zoe and Anthony Taylor.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's make sure they're stepped. Both of them are stepped by the end of the day today. And what I did was put them in the respective groups of where they were initially at. Okay. So she just needs to finish. He likely will stay, but he just needs to finish too. Okay. But for now, I kept him in those groups. Awesome. Okay. So let's take a look at the groups that we have here. We have, you can call them whatever you want, but like support, medium, and the high group. Okay. End of the year goal for 2nd grade is what?
Level 6.
Step
7.
Well, technically, end of the year for 2nd grade would be step 9. Achieve step 9.
Okay.
So kindergarten is step 3. 1st grade would be step 6. And then when we get to second grade, this is where we're gonna achieve step 9.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna have this out too because this is gonna sort of guide us in like how are we, so like we have some scholars that are almost there, right? And so when we think about this, 3 step levels is a year. So 1, 2, 3 year. That's when we think about progress. Okay. So these are your groups. I want you to take a look at like when we group them. You'll notice that I intentionally separated the 3s from 2s.
Okay.
And it's because that every 3, 6, 9, and 12 step level, it introduces new components, and it's almost, I would say, vastly different assessment than the previous one. So that's why I organize them strategically this way.
Okay.
Okay, so let's take a look at your first support step group. And in that step group, let's identify, you also need your computer, so pull up in step 2, and then this is where I'm gonna have you do the work, we'll come back together.
You said pull up step 2?
Step 2. So, on step 2, I'm gonna have you go to the analysis.
Okay.
All right, let me know when you're there.
I'm on analysis tab.
Okay, on analysis tab, I want you to go to component breakdown. And what we're gonna do is identify the literacy components where the majority of the students struggle.
Okay.
And component breakdown is where we're gonna find that. So let's take a look at the first group, scholars here. Pre-read or step 1 are their DNA did not achieve. And so like looking at component breakdown, let's hover over pre-read in step 1. Are you with me right there? Yeah. Okay. So let's identify, just looking over the components are on the left side. What are the components where the majority of the students struggle? Let's name some of those. And then
Miss Hargrove, code blue. Miss Hargrove, code blue.
That's fine. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Is this mine?
Okay.
Legato, code blue.
So I see pre-read nothing, right?
Yep.
Okay, so step 1. What are the step components where the majority of the students struggle?
Name ID.
Auto, code blue. McCarthy.
Letter sound. First sounds. Yeah.
Okay. And then I would say, so like looking at, so we look at concepts about print, 4 out of 4 students, under step 1.
Okay.
Concepts about print, 4 out of 4 students at that level, achieved or mastered that round, right? So we know that that's not a struggle. But if you look below, we got reading record, only 1 of 4 students. That's where the majority, so 1 of 4 means, yeah, only 1 student mastered that particular component. That's what we're looking at. And then if you scroll down, let's not forget the developmental spelling. So we have 1 component, which is reading record, only 1 student mastered. And then we have 4 components where 3 out of the 4 students mastered. Letter sound, letter ID, first sound, and then developmental spelling. So let's start, like, because this is step 1 and we're in 2nd grade, we need to treat all of these step components with urgency, so we need to dive into every one of them except for concepts about print in this case. So let's click on letter name ID. Is it up?
It's loading up.
Okay. And then when you get to letter name ID, you'll see the individual students that have and their scores at the top right. What is that?
Is it this over here?
Yeah, I think this week.
It looks.
I only have 4 students.
of my students are, or it looks like kindergarten and my students. Yeah.
So let's go scroll up. Yeah, because we want to sift through. Click on Albeit and then click Hargrove. Yeah. Then that. Yeah.
Okay.
And then go back up so it says
analysis.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Did
Okay.
it? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay. Component breakdown.
And then start with
Got it.
what did I click on? Letter name ID.
Letter name. That's why there are so many.
Okay. So letter name ID with this particular step component. In this case, what is the targeted response, or what should the benchmark be for students to master this?
Knowing their letters.
Yep. How many though? So like, let's look at the category where it says exceeds meets. We always want to start with the exemplar. So what should mastery look like for this particular component?
You said exceeds meets. Oh, okay. So
How many?
it should be 3. Or this number here.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yeah.
46 to 54.
Yeah, they need, so like with uppercase and then lowercase, altogether they're 54 total letters. So, and I would say step 1, like this is not kindergarten, so second grade, so thinking about that, we should err on the higher end. So like 54, 52, 53, like we can work, but 54 is where that's the exemplar. So let's look at where our students are at in this group.
Okay.
And where do we need to get, like, and who do we need to target? Who are the outliers? So who has mastered that? And then, great, who hasn't, and what do we need to do?
Okay. Caden's at 54, Zakarian's at 52, Keyshawn's at 52, and Devarian is at 17.
Okay, so given that, what, we need to identify what letters Zakarian and Keyshawn, have not mastered.
Yep.
And then we need to look at Devarian, so scroll down. And then literally for this one, the stalls in this are going to be easy. It's literally, we're gonna name out and list out what are the letters.
Okay.
So if you scroll down, it'll show you all the errors.
Okay.
And uppercase. So, and right now, since this will be classic for us, let's just, in this box or somewhere in here for this group, let's just name all of the uppercase letters that we need to work on. And at this point, I would just label all of them that the students have made errors on. So, I can read them to you. And then what we are going to do is then determine what's an action step during guided reading that we need to do for this. So uppercase is J. Do you need a pen? You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. J, F. You sure you don't want a pen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. J, F, G, H, I, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, T, U, V, W, Y, and then Z. Oh, I thought it was a highlighter. I got it. Okay.
Oh, because it's pink?
Yeah,
It's great.
So all uppercase. So I would say, like, as we take a look at this data, you could see one student had made an error on most of these, and that one student obviously gonna be Devarian because he's the only student that failed this, right? Here's 2, so we need to identify which scholar. Yeah, on J. So this is where I go to my breakdown. Okay, so then I'm looking at Caden, Zakarian, or no, not Caden. Caden got 54. So Zakarian and Keyshawn. So Zakarian had Zakarian got all the uppercase, so he's good on uppercase. Keyshawn then must have not mastered J. Yep, he said G. So so let's circle J and then put next to that, or draw an arrow to that for that's Keyshawn. Okay, so now that we identified this is a gap, right? So like what, given that, let's determine